137,000 kilometers, bloody beautiful. Look at this, it's in for a service. So what we're going to do is we're going to condense this video down to about 10 minutes. It's going to be a combination of a vehicle inspection for the owner, so he's got a record of what's getting done and what needs to be done, and a general inspection, checking over the vehicle and all the normal usual sort of things to look out for. So let's get started. Most importantly, before we get started, back to the books to check what's been done. 10,000k service, not filled in. 20,000k service, not filled in. 30,000k service. You get the pattern here. I'm going to skip them anyway because we're already checked. And guess what? You guessed it. None of the services are filled in, which doesn't really help us much at all, does it? So what you do next, you come into the maintenance schedule and you can work out what needs to be in. Timing belt, 150k. We've done that. We know that's all done. The BFE's done. Injectors are done. So we're going to do all these are for replace. As far as replacement items, engine oil filter, spark plugs, doesn't have those, it's the diesel, right? Fuel system, you've got to look here, diesel every 40,000, see, 40, 80, see the 80's up here, 120, so technically the fuel filter should have been replaced at 120, and it will be again at 160, so we'll try and follow up on that and see what's been done. And over here, airflow meter, that's already been cleaned, part of our work. Air cleaner filter every 30,000 k's is standard, we'll check that. Just looking at the replacement items, brake fluid again every 40,000, so we need to check up if that's been done or not. And of course the diff oils, front and rear diff oils, again every 40,000 is a major service. Air conditioner filter, that's your cabin filter. This one says every 60,000. Well, let's get to the vehicle and check it out and see what we can work out. Let's start off taking a look at these old tyres. They're about half worn, they're not too bad. They're a bit unevenly worn, there's some feathering on the inside edges. So, and also actually a bit of feathering on the outside. So that sort of tells us the wheel alignment or the suspension, EFS suspension, EFS, I just want to say, EFS suspension and the tyre wear isn't good. And you can get that all fixed up and it'll still drive average a lot of the time because the tyre is already worn there. It's just feathered off on the inside. It's good tread. It's the inside and outside edges of the vehicle, the tyre that's wearing. This one at the left-hand front as well, almost down to nothing there, and you got a few mil there. So yeah, these tyres, they're a bit messy, so they're due for replacement. These are good for spares for someone, but that's about it, to be honest. They are due for replacement, so there you go. Just having a quick look at the back tyres. You can see a bit of tread left on the outside edges. All right, inside and outside, but right in the middle, it's down to about a couple of mil. I would say they're worn out, yep, and they're a bit more worn in the middle. They're probably a little bit overinflated, so have a look at the pressures on the back of the utes. If they're overinflated, you're gonna wear them more in the middle and make it a bit more slippery in the wet. You'll be complaining of these tyres are rubbish. The spare tyre that's up under here is the sort of tyre most people should be driving on because they're on the blacktop most of the time. I'll tell you a quick story, actually, real quick one. We're out four-wheel driving once. It was a slippery mud hill. I was in a Hilux on BFG KM2s, the mud tyres, and had a mate in a Prado, stock standard on all terrains, and I was struggling to get up this hill and he went up first in the Prado. So the difference between these tyres and some mud tyres, to be honest, in real world testing, quite often isn't a massive difference. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to laugh, so let's just move on to something else and you can laugh. Check the diff breathers are not blocked. Got to have a look through here, have a look at your brakes. We'll get to that. That won't be in the video, but they'll be okay. Rear shocker's not leaking. It's probably time to start thinking about replacing the shockers. Suspension specialists recommend every 80,000 kilometers. That's your dampener to stop your car bouncing because it's on springs, right? All right, so now up around the there's nothing to see from there to there, so it just moves. It's 130,000 k's, nice and clean. Transfer case is all good. Obviously, this doesn't do a lot of off-road, and I just want to point out for the people that don't get it, see that sweat there? It's not an oil leak. It's not worth, I've said it before, hundreds or thousands of dollars in repairs. You know, general conversation, could be other vehicles. There's a seal at that side of the transfer case. There's a seal at that side of the transmission. That's not a leak, it's a sweat. But if people wanted to, they can clean that up and seal it up to make it all, you can do whatever you want. I'm just really demonstrating how the RTV works and what you can do, but there's not actually meant to be oil in there. So tightening up these bolts, A, they're not going to be loose and it's not going to make any difference. Moving on, okay, so what's going on up here? Because this looks really clean here, like it's been dirty, but it's clean. And there is some oil there. I'm going to say this is a manual, and there is a bit of an oil leak at the input shaft seal of the manual transmission by the looks of it, which is fairly rare, and that's what all that cleanness going on around there is, a bit of cleanness and a bit of maybe it's been cleaned. It's not too bad, but that is an oil leak, and you can't just put your RCV up that inspection hole there. That's to make this leak better. The only way to do it is really to remove the transmission and change that seal, but it's not too bad. But there is a drip there, so that is a leak. So hey, this is first 4x4 diesel, petrol, whatever you want to call it, video that we actually kind of found an oil leak. This is like typical of the old Holdens and Fords and all these other cars that always leak, you know, rear mains and gearboxes and stuff. And funny thing about it is a gearbox, right? So that's, I suppose, one of the negatives to the gearbox. They can have a few issues that the autos don't have, in generally speaking, in these Toyotas. Nice and clean up there. Plug's nowhere near leaking yet, even by age. Oh, the plug's not there on this one, even better. That's what you want. The one without the plug. The later models didn't have it, see? Diff looks clean, that's good. Looks like someone's worked on the diff though as well though, because you can see a socket's been on there. Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Brakes. Ooh, brakes are getting low a little bit as well, actually. Getting down a little bit. What's this side like? They are getting down a bit. CV boots have got quite a big angle. Oh my gosh, look at that big twist up. Oh, that's got some slight damage on it as well, actually. These aftermarket boots or what? Is that a genuine or aftermarket? I can't. It's hard to tell sometimes with that much angle. I'm a bit distracted by that split. So is that a bit of a split or? Looks like it looks like that's all a bit in there, twisted up and whatever. So that's not good, because it looks like we've got, once again on the Hilux, it's a common thing, too much travel. Oh, look, strut spacers, not a good idea. So this is what I'm talking about. Sorry, people, this is going to go over 10 minutes now, because I recommend against strut spacers for many reasons. But anyway, bada bing, let's keep looking around. I want to have a look at these, all these bushes. Everything looks all right. What we can see of them anyway, not too bad. Yeah, that's the issue there. It's just too much travel, you know, strut spaces. So it's got maybe a lift or something, or it's got some EFS or something in there. But yeah, the strut space is not a good idea, as I said, for a number of reasons. They are the genuine shafts, so it looks to have, this one's going all right so far, but it looks to that it's might have damaged, or it's going to damage that one. Mate, do you mind? Do you want to get some gloves on or something and just see if you can pull that out and see what's going on, straighten it out and see. All right, bash plate rubbing on the bottom of the diff. That's not uncommon, no big deal. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so not a big deal, but there's an oil leak to pay some attention to. Bottom of the turbo's bone dry. Yeah, otherwise it looks good. We'll just have a closer look at these brakes. All right, so we've done some discussions, etc. We can't just take the spacers out, because that looks like stock standard springs, and we've got a steel bull bar with a winch, which is heavy. So we're just going to order some bloody Dobinsons for it and do it properly, because this stuff looks old and flogged enough. And putting aftermarket struts, which are probably average and causing, we don't want the new tyres to get destroyed. We're also discussing not getting KO2s, because this vehicle doesn't do a lot of off-road. It doesn't need KO2s, so KO2s are not the most suitable tyre for this vehicle, in my opinion. You can see the other issues, you know, how the upper arm and, you know, the ball joints hitting coming into the spring. So look, let's get the Dobinson struts in there. That'll fix up all the angles with the spacers out and all that sort of thing. It'll improve. Obviously, if it's still too much, then that K-On diff drop kit, because quite simply, with the Hiluxes, they've already got a bit extra travel. The aftermarket stuff's a little bit longer, and it also does put the CVs on a bit too much of an angle, in my opinion, on the Hiluxes, not the Prados. So, you know, in our vehicle, we went, and so have a number of other people, for that proper K-On diff drop, and it's replacement brackets, and it fixes up, as I've explained in other videos, there's a problem with the height of the diff. It actually sits higher at this side, which puts this side here on more of an angle generally than this one. And I can see it on this vehicle. Even this side has got the boot problem. I don't know, can you see what I see? I don't know if you can, but this side of the diff, you know, it's sort of almost angled down, and this one here is sort of angled up. It's probably hard for you to see, but yeah, every time I've taken measurements on these when they break CVs, that's what I've found. There's not much in it, usually about 10 mil, but the K-On replacement diff drop brackets they fix the problem on the Hiluxes, and they're going to save you CVs as well, because to be quite honest, any aftermarket suspension, they're at high risk because everything's got at least a little bit more travel, and it does put your CVs at risk. If you don't go off-road a lot, don't use low range, then you don't need to worry about the diff drop, okay? So it's more off-road. You got the front pointed up a hill, you're all angled up, one wheel up, one wheel down, and yeah, there's a good chance that in a tripod there, it just on the angle, so you can see the angle it's on already, under low range torque, it just twists and just sort of pops out, and yeah, it causes you those sorts of problems. And these are up to about $600 and something each, and might as well just say 700 because they're probably still going up. So you don't want to ruin those unnecessarily. Better off spending the hundreds of dollars on these, preventing that, because it solves solves it from happening again and again and again. So, but first things first, let's get the Dobbinsons in, see what it looks like. We're gonna have to order that in. It's gonna be another visit. So what are we doing on this visit? We're just gonna keep it a general service check over, a video report. We're gonna start doing a 10-minute video report on all the vehicles it'll be sent to the customers. They won't all necessarily go public. We're gonna run out of videos soon anyway, so if we haven't already, because that's what we want to do. We need to run out of videos because we're busy doing other stuff. And we're going to assume that the 120k service was done correctly and diff oils were changed and stuff like that. Hard to know for sure, isn't it, But there's a bit of oil around where you'd say, yeah, probably, maybe. And this doesn't go off-road. So the front diff oil is going to be pretty clean anyway, because it doesn't do too much, which is good news. And either way, at 160, it'll be a major service and all that'll be getting done. Diff's not imperative, but we're going to do the fuel filter and check the air filter, because they're the sorts of things that really matter. And what else are we going to do? We're going to do the front brake pads, and it's got a bit of a slight pulsation, so probably put some rotors on it, lsiauto.com.au, using the discount code to get that extra 5%. Cheap rotors, they do the job. They're just wear and tear items, and probably genuine pads if we can get them. And see that extra angle there, it puts a little bit of grease there on the lower. I wouldn't worry about that either, but again, all to do with the angle. It's not a normal thing. There's a little bit more angle going on more than usual. Let's wrap this one up. Subscribe, turn the bell on if you want to see more videos, and hit like button if you liked it or learned something, and catch you on the next one, people. See ya.